How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
So I timed it perfectly. I had it nailed perfectly to be here on time for the start of the second hour of this program until somebody heading into the parking garage collided with someone heading out of the parking garage, and I couldn't get my car out of the hospital parking garage. Don't text and drive, people. Don't text and drive. Scans are fine. Thank you very much for your prayers. So Christy's dealing with some. She's been on this medicine called Tagrisso longer than almost anyone around, and there's such a small data pool of people. She's kind of it for long-term side effects of being on the medicine, and she's just been without energy for even before she was in the hospital with the rhabdo, and it's just gotten worse since. So dealing with that, but the scans are fine. I really do appreciate the prayers. It has been an exhausting several months for all of us, with her not having energy, with me having to shuttle kids to school until we got Gunner his car, and then grocery shopping and cooking meals and travel and everything else. And she's a trooper, and I mean, we're in this together till death do us part. So do my part to be able to get her. I parked her at a hotel room just by the hospital till I can get my show done, and then I will go by the hospital, pick her up, and get her home and get us fed. So just one of those days in the life of dealing with just life. So thank you very much for your prayers. And yes, the scans are good. And I guess we'll do it all over again in 3 or 4 months. They've moved her to 4-month scans, thankfully, instead of 3 months. So in 4 months, we can do it all over again. Right now, let me tell you about Old Glory Bank. They're my bank. I had a great experience with them when I got back from Las Vegas, was able to deposit cash, my winnings in Las Vegas with a QR code at a local store. They scanned the code, took the cash, it got deposited in my account. It was fantastic. It worked. Even though they're an online bank, I could deposit money. You can too. If you're a veteran, a first responder, an active duty military, you too can use Old Glory Bank, and they'll give you great discounts if you're active duty military or a veteran first responder. I've got a no-fee checking and a no-fee savings account. You can get the premium accounts with interest-bearing checking, things like that if you want. You go to oldglorybank.com/Eric, oldglorybank.com/ERICK. Old Glory Bank was started by some conservatives who were concerned about the conservative debanking trends in the country, where progressives were buying bank shares and then forcing those banks to do things targeting conservatives, gun owners, gun stores, things like that. Old Glory Bank stood up in defiance of it, and now they're the fastest growing bank in the country. oldglorybank.com/Eric, ERICK. Go check them out today. When we come back, I want to wind up the shutdown conversation. I'll take your phone calls as well. 877-973-7425. Phone lines are open. The fate of Chuck Schumer when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here live. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be delighted to have you. We've got to discuss the fate of Chuck Schumer because, well, the Democrats are not exactly happy with him. Now, you will notice it's not actually the ones in the Senate. It's everybody else, though. The progressives don't like him. First of all, let's begin with Stephen Colbert last night on his TV show.
I understand the newspapers today. It looks like the government shutdown is coming to an end. Our long national nightmare is different. At how many days? 41 days so far. It is the longest shutdown in U.S. history. Democrats have been holding the line, demanding Republicans compromise to keep Affordable Care Act subsidies available for millions of Americans. Well, last night, 8 Democratic senators voted with Republicans to fund the government through January without any Affordable Care Act guarantees. So yes, the shutdown may have been long and painful for millions of Americans, but at least it achieved jack squat.
Wow. I can't believe they're canceling that guy's comedy show. But yeah, that's where we go. So here's a Democratic strategist.
Should Chuck Schumer go?
And yet, yes, Chuck Schumer should go. I'm sorry to say Chuck Schumer should go. I voted for him many times. I am ideologically quite aligned with where he is as a senator, but he's no longer capable of running this caucus. He's no longer capable of leading the Democratic Party. I am a I am an establishment Democrat, and I'm here to say that Bernie Sanders is much more in line with where I and many other Democrats are today than Chuck Schumer is. And, if you would have asked me that 5 years ago, I would have laughed at you. So that just to underscore exactly how furious Democrats are today for putting the country through this without having an out.
Without having an out. Seth Moulton, Democratic member of Congress.
Yeah, and do you think that need for a change in leadership would also extend to Chuck Schumer if you were elected to the Senate?
Yes.
Would you want to see? Okay. And yeah,
no, I'm not going to run on a new generation of leadership platform here in Massachusetts and then go down to Washington and vote for the status quo. And so I've been very public about that. Again, respect his service, but time to move on. Mm-hmm. And my opponent has not. He keeps dodging the question.
They're trying to turn it into a big referendum for Senate Democratic candidates on what to do. Jasmine Crockett is upset about it as well. I will leave out her profanity-laced comments, but they're not doing very well. Here's David Axelrod.
He is in bigger trouble now. I think Senator Schumer's been there since 1982. My guess is that he won't be leader of the party in 2027 after this election, unless something really surprising happens. But one thing I want to say that we haven't discussed, we're talking about the internal strife within the Democratic Party. Democrats had internal strife before these elections last Tuesday, and they unified because they had a bigger concern, which was Donald Trump. And I think one of the problems Republicans have to consider now is Democrats did do a very good job of shining a bright light on this Affordable Care Act issue and the general issue of health care costs. And now Republicans were steadfast in opposing a solution to it. Maybe they'll change their mind, but this is a heavy burden for them to carry into the midterm elections.
Till you point out that what got canceled was something Democrats wanted to cancel. I think the Republicans probably need to highlight that. Now let's dive into the polling for Chuck Schumer. This is Harry Inton at CNN.
There has been talks of a challenge to Schumer. What are you saying on that front? Who looks like they're in place to do it?
Okay, so you see this opening slide here, and you see, of course, that Chuck Schumer is underwater with Democrats nationally. But, of course, the ultimate way to get Chuck Schumer out of office is to beat him in New York State. So how do New York State Democrats feel about Chuck Schumer? And take a look here. The net favorable among New York Democrats. Chuck Schumer is above water with the Democrats in his home state, but just by 16 points. Look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez running way ahead. If she decides to challenge Chuck Schumer and come 2028, she's got a real leg up on the competition. I dare say at this point she would be the favorite to beat him, which would be something that would just blow my mind.
A little more from Harry.
All right. Backlash this morning for Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer as division grows among Democrats over the deal to reopen the government. California Congressman Ro Khanna going so far as calling for Schumer to be replaced, saying he's no longer effective. CNN chief data analyst Harry Inton joining us now. How are Democrats feeling overall about Schumer. We've seen a lot of comments from some House Democrats, but what about overall?
What about Democrats nationwide feeling about Chuck Schumer? I think the word of the day is terrible, 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 terrible. To quote another Charles Barkley when it comes to Chuck Schumer, look at this. Least popular Dem Senate leader ever. I looked at all of the polls going all the way back since 1985. The one who has the lowest rating among Democrats is, in fact, Chuck Schumer. Look at this. He's underwater with Democrats. His own party, he's underwater. He's at -4 points. That makes him the least popular guy for a Dem Senate leader going all the way back since the mid-1980s at least.
Yeah, he genuinely is an unpopular leader right now, genuinely unpopular. The Democrats, though, they don't have anything to replace him with. And that's part of the problem that people have got to understand here. What is the backup plan? You heard one Democratic strategist say that Bernie Sanders is more in line with people. You know, it's always funny because, you know, Bernie Sanders isn't a member of the Democratic Party. And yet they always bend over backwards to try to tie Bernie Sanders to the Democratic Party and elevate the popularity of the Democratic Party with Bernie Sanders. They're, of course, doing it now with AOC. Here's Bernie Sanders, this interview that he conducted with CBS.
Do you, at this point, have confidence in Chuck Schumer to lead the Democratic caucus?
It's not Schumer. Look, it goes deeper than Schumer. It is no secret to anybody who follows these things that there is a division within the Democratic Party. Chuck represents the establishment wing, the corporate wing, raises a lot of money, as do Republican leaders. They raise zillions of dollars from wealthy people and super PACs and all that stuff. I represent a different wing in the Democratic Party. It's the wing that Mamdani won with in New York City, and we are now supporting candidates all over this country. Candidates for the Senate, candidates for the House, who are prepared to deal with this horrific level of income and wealth inequality, prepared to deal with the fact that we are the only major country not to guarantee health care to all people. We have a terrible housing crisis that we should not be giving $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%. So the question is the future of the Democratic Party. I think it's a future where you have candidates who are prepared to stand up to big money, represent the working class of this country, and fight for an agenda that works for all, not just the 1%.
He's leading you all in the Senate right now. Do you think he should be replaced?
By whom? Well, that's the point. The question is if somebody, look, again, Schumer's views are very different than mine. He is an establishment Democrat, no secret. I am not. I hope that by electing new members of the Senate, we will have, in fact, new leadership. But right now, it is what it is.
Well, and again, I got to point out here. Bernie Sanders is not a member of the Democratic Party. He chooses to not be a member of the Democratic Party. Bernie Sanders has no desire to be a member of the Democratic Party. And yet he's treated as if he is a member of the Democratic Party. And there's a lesson here for the Republicans. Police your own side here. This whole no enemies to the right of me thing, this is what the left has done. They've allowed Bernie Sanders into the Democratic Party without him actually being a member of the Democratic Party. And he's now disrupting the Democratic Party to the point he's on CBS News essentially saying, we need a new leader of the Democratic Party in the Senate, but we got to win elections to do it. And he's urging people to do that. And he's not a Democrat. He doesn't want to be a part of the Democratic Party. And yet we're in this wild situation where the Democrats treat him as if he's some authority on a party that he wants no part of. You've got a great deal of meltdown happening on the Democratic side because of Chuck Schumer. You know the difference between Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell as leaders of their respective parties? Mitch McConnell was always on the side of keep the government open. Always on the side of keep the government open. So when the government opened, you couldn't say Mitch McConnell wasn't leading his party. He was clearly leading his party. Chuck Schumer staked out a position on keep the government closed. And behind the scenes, everyone suspects very credibly he actually wanted the government to be open. But he staked out a position on keep the government closed. And now the government is open, which suggests that Chuck Schumer is incapable of leading his party. His party clearly revolted. His party clearly cannot be led by a man who can't keep the government closed down. He's the one who staked out that position. I mean, they're freaking out now on The View. You when you've lost the gals at The View, you've lost the Upper East Side of Manhattan. That may mean nothing to the rest of you, but that's Chuck Schumer's core donor base.
Be clear. The Republicans run the House. The Republicans run the Senate. The Republicans run the White House. The Republicans run the Supreme Court, as far as I'm concerned. This was a choice by Republicans to cut SNAP benefits. This was a choice by Republicans to cut ACA subsidies. This was a choice by the Republicans to gut the federal government and federal employment. Democrats had nothing to do with it. I want an opposition party. I think the Democrats caved. I think the Democrats let down the American people. And like you, Whoopi, I have absolutely no faith that the Republican Party will come to the negotiating table in good faith. You know, you do something like this, shame on you the first time. You do it twice, 3 times, 4 times, shame on me. Shame on the Democrats for even believing that the Republicans will even vote on it. There's no guarantee in this New Deal that there's going to be a vote. There's no even commitment to have a vote. So the bottom line is the Democrats went into this after a blue wave out of the American people saying, we do want the opposition. We the working people want the Democratic Party to fight for them. And now they just caved and surrendered. I think Chuck Schumer, his days are over.
Okay. Let's just think now. This woman, this is Sunny Houston, who's a bat crap crazy, terrible human being. She actually is a pretty terrible human being from what I'm told behind the scenes of The View. You know, I got friends there and nobody particularly cares for her. She's also the one who was talking about how her family needed SNAP benefits. I'm like, lady, you're a millionaire and your family needs welfare? Really? Sunny Houston, she says the Republicans did these mean things, and so Democrats should have held the line. For what? To keep people from getting SNAP benefits? To keep air traffic controllers from being paid? See, this is the incoherence of the Democratic position. She just wanted the government to be shut down. And the Republicans were willing to oblige to keep the government shut down. You know, I suspect we're going to get into January. The Democrats are going to want to have this fight all over again. The Democrats are probably going to want to shut it down and leave it down and think that that's going to help them in the midterms. In fact, the Democratic message, I suspect, is going to be you shut it down and you keep it shut down and the voters will reward us. Now, I don't think that's actually going to be the case, but I suspect that this is where we're headed. The Democrats are going to decide that it is best to shut it all down in January, have another temper tantrum. They're going to look at the polling now and say, hey, it helped us in the off-year elections, so it will help us in the off-year elections. They will have learned the wrong lessons. The right lesson is this. Republicans have no incentive to open the government and Democrats do, and you can be sure that the next time the Republicans will make it as painful as possible for the Democrats when the shutdown happens. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, as promised, I actually do want to talk about Veterans Day when we come back. I do. I've got some thoughts that they need to be said. I'll just put it to you that way. Whether you want to hear it or not, those thoughts need to be said. Now, I got to say something else. The 15-year mortgage not mortgage, car loan. I thought that was a joke because, the president came up with the 50-year mortgage and then people started talking about the 15-year car loan. And I really thought it was a joke. It's not a joke. Sean Davis from The Federalist went on a tirade the other day about how we need to get serious about solving economic problems. A 50-year mortgage and a 15-year car loan don't do that. I don't know that cars last 15 years. I mean, a Toyota, yes, maybe an older F-150, but so many of the newer cars have so many electronic parts that wear out so quickly. I don't know that a car is going to last 15 years anymore, but the fact that we're at the point where we've got to talk about it is kind of wild that anyone needs to even think about it. And then there's this. Fannie Mae is set to drop its 620 credit score minimum. You're no longer going to have a minimum credit score of 620 to get financing for a house. They're going to have other criteria. Those other criteria are going to be abused. Wait until you come back. Well, you've got to have at least one trans child and you yourself be on the spectrum for non-gender binary in order to get a loan. When you drop the minimum credit score, you're opening to all sorts of hanky-panky. And also, you're opening to abuse. You're opening to abuse of the system and going to cause another financial meltdown. I swear, between this and OpenAI, we're going to have a financial crisis that makes the 2009 one look like nothing. Eden Pure would love for you to get 3 of their Eden Pure thunderstorms for less than $200. You can go to EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. Use the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3 at EdenPureDeals.com. Now, they're small air purifiers. You can hold it in your hand, about the size of a small paperback book. And I keep one in my travel bag, and it just destroys odors. Smoke odors, litter box odors, wet dog odors, any pet odor, any cooking odor, anything like that, musty odors in your house. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm just wipes them out. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. Eden, like the Garden of Eden, pure as the driven snow, EdenPureDeals.com. You put in the discount code ERIC3, ERICK, the number 3, no space. You'll get 3 of them for less than $200. You'll save $200. They get rid of pet dander, dust, pollen. They get rid of 99.9% of bacteria and viruses, and then where they shine is an odor eliminator. Upstairs, downstairs, your basement, your travel bag, your RV, you get 3 of them for less than $200, and you've saved $200. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3.